Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Spanish United Radio. I'm your host, Enrique Sanchez. Tonight, we have a very special guest. Would you be kind enough to introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Kim Bowman. I'm the appointed mayor of La Cañada, Flintridge, and it's nice to be with you.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Kim.
Yeah.
As we had spoken over the phone, there was a recent walkout in the city of La Cañada, Flintridge, with the students walking out from school. So, can you explain a little bit of what caused the students to leave and what was the walkout about?
Yeah, so there was just a little over a week ago a planned walkout amongst some students at several of the schools that we have in town. It coincided with a separate uh, protest event that was taking place at a church near the main park. Both those locations, I say all those locations are along Foothill Boulevard, our main boulevard. Um, and from a city perspective, not really in a position to speak to the individual protest actions or what
Mm,
specifically is motivating those folks. I do know that it largely related to uh, questions around federal intervention and immigration actions and enforcement actions, policy and political questions. And to my knowledge, the vast majority of folks that were engaged in that peaceful protest were for one side of this issue as opposed to another, though I do understand there was a small number of counter protesters or folks that were supporting a different
hmm
position, a pro federal immigration position.
hmm
Um, and so, we had hundreds and hundreds of people engaged in lawful, nonviolent First Amendment protected speech. And as I say, from the city's perspective, it's not about, taking any one particular side or of all of the people there saying this is the thing we like or don't
hmm
like. Very specifically, as a municipality, we do not take positions from the First Amendment perspective on the content of that speech. We are very much focused on making sure that everyone, and I'll say a lot of these folks, just from what I could see when I was on the ground there, were younger people. They were they were in high school. They were um, some of them not yet adults, but
Right.
they all were peacefully assembling and speaking and using that First Amendment right to make their feelings and thoughts on these important, often very sensitive issues known, and that is always something that we are going to take seriously, do everything we can to make sure is protected, in particular to make sure that everyone is safe. And I'll say that is really what our focus was, ensuring those First Amendment rights were fully utilized by everyone who wanted to. Incidents and
Okay.
no.
Hello?
Oh, did I lose you?
Yeah, you kind of just cut off. Can you say the last thing, Kim? I'm terribly sorry.
Yeah, no. As I say, we from a city's perspective, we were making sure that everyone had the full, fair access to the First Amendment right to speech and in this case to protest. And I'm very glad to say that we had absolutely no security issues, no incidents, no one was injured. And
hmm
so I feel like from again from a city perspective where we are content neutral as to the speech that people are bringing to these events. I was really happy to see the coordination between the various organizations and that absolutely no one was hurt. We had absolutely no incidents of any kind.
That's good. And I feel that every city, regardless of what the position is, their sole purpose is to make sure that people that want to express their opinions or they want to spread themselves, that they should do it peacefully. At the same time, it should be protected. As you know, today there's many cities that they don't really want people to protest, so I really commend you in making sure that the protests or the marches were peaceful, no one got injured, and that people were able to have engagement and dialogue, because I feel that's very important. That's something that's missing nowadays.
I don't, I obviously can't speak for anyone else. I'll simply say that I commend the partnerships that we have in our city. Um, we're known for many things in La Cañada, but certainly one of them is our great schools.
Mhm.
And we have both really excellent public and private schools, and I know that as well as just the institutions of town, and a number of them were engaged, or at least the individuals who attend those schools or who are part of those organizations were engaged in speech actions. And so, that coordination I felt was really important, both from a city side, but as well as with our law enforcement partners,
Mhm.
our fire and first responder partners, making sure that, we were all prepared in a way that allowed for if something happened. If, it was a hot day, we're starting to see some of those hot days with this Southern California weather
Oh
that we
yeah.
so enjoy. Well, if someone was going to have, a medical emergency, making sure that we had the folks stationed in place to be able to take care of them. Because the last thing we would ever want is for someone to, to be hurt during this process. And so, as I say, no issues, no incidents, and we will take what we learned from this experience. I think that is that our advanced coordination and that strong partnership amongst our public and private institutions can only help buttress the ability for us to have that strong community and for individuals and groups to safely and to peaceably demonstrate. And so I take that as one of the big takeaways from this, but also just as a good example
Right.
that we can do that well, and I think that we will continue to do it well. And this is just an example of how, with a little bit of coordination and with some foresight, that was possible in our case, and I should hope it's possible everywhere. Because as to your point, the First Amendment is everyone's. That is, it's foundational and it's first for a reason. So
Exactly.
I personally take it very seriously, but also I know that as a city and as our partner institutions, we all really do put a lot into making sure that people have access fully to their rights in a safe way.
Yeah, I go to like out of Flintridge like all the time. I live in Glendale, and
That's great.
it's a very wonderful city. I like the way that it's a very close-knit community, and at the same time, it's very safe. So I feel that La Cañada could be a model for other cities to emulate in terms of the safety infrastructure and also providing a safe place for those that want to, protest or, march peacefully. So the second part of our question has to do with public safety. So how is the overall public safety in the city of La Cañada Flintridge?
Well, I think to your point, and first, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoy the community. I very much see La Cañada Flint Ridge as a community. It's not just a city with boundaries or specific parcel numbers or something. It's not a map, it's people. And our community very much is made of folks that live here, that work here, that go to school here, and that visit and play and shop here. So thank you for being a member of our community here. Um, we are by and large a very safe city, and I think that the statistics will tell you that. But I fully acknowledge a distinction sometimes between what the data will tell you and how you feel. That those can be different experiences. But in the case of La Cañada Flint Ridge, I'm very proud to say that in both senses, we are a very safe city. The data will tell you that this is a safe place, and that it does feel that way. It feels like a community. It feels very neighborly. And we've, as a community and as a city government, in partnership, as I say, with our law enforcement, our fire, our other first responder partners, have worked really hard to keep it that way. I'll say it's always been, I think again, the data says it's always been a very safe place, but that there's always room for improvement, and we've been striving these last many years to really just make it even better. And I think
Mm.
that we have had some great success to that effect. And I can talk about statistics, and I can kind of show you, point to you where I think that I can prove that we're doing that. But to your point, you come here and you visit here, you tell me, does it feel safe?
Oh, absolutely. Like I remember when I moved to Glendale 16 years ago, we didn't have a car. So I was on the bus, and I remember I was taking the bus. I actually got lost in La Cañada and I couldn't return back to Glendale until the next day. So I had to go by the routes and I waited. My mother was trying to locate me and she spoke with La Cañada PD and they said, "Look, your son's going to be fine. It's one of the safest communities in the foothills. So don't worry, we're going to be passing by." So I felt very safe. I didn't feel that someone was going to knock me over the head to take my computer at the time I was a college student. So I could say from experience, La Cañada is very safe. I could feel that it's very inclusive. Me being a Hispanic person, I never felt
Hmm.
discriminated against. Unlike in Glendale, I felt more discriminated here in Glendale than in La Quinata. So I could tell you that as far as inclusiveness is concerned, it's also very safe. It's very inclusive, very opening, and I definitely recommend anyone that wants to live in a good community that want to have their children in good schools to go to La Quinata Flintridge.
No, that's hey, that's that personal experience and testimonial. I think that says it all, and I appreciate that. Thank you. And as you say, that was not recently. You're saying that was 16 years ago, and
Correct.
that was the feeling you had. Well, I think that is still true. I think that's a consistent theme that we have is that this is a great place to live, work, and grow up, or grow older. As many
Mhm.
folks that live here, they've been here and their kids may move away, things may change, but they stay. About 25% of the city's population is 18 or under. Well, I should say under 18. It's kids. It's
Right.
our students mostly. About 25% of the city is older adults.
Right.
So for it's about balance between those two populations, and so making sure that our city is a great place to grow up, but also to grow older in is a really just strong focus of mine as someone with an older adult advocacy background. It's my one of my primary passions and a key policy position of mine. But also, I'm just a dad of two young kids who are
Right.
growing up in the city, and I think that is very much my interest is to make sure that this is a great place, and you cannot have great places if you don't have that confidence that it is a safe place to be. And so I will say from we've been talking about crime perspective,
Right.
absolutely we're a safe place, but also obviously there's a lot of different ways to think about public safety, and we are thoughtful about all of the different hazards, both natural or otherwise, that we might experience, and making sure that we're preparing as a community for them, as a city, and by and large as a community, and every individual involved can make a difference. We saw when we had the fires. It,
Yes.
Individuals were evacuating. We said, hey, the whole city is under an evacuation order and we all got to get out. But it's still up to every individual to take care of themselves, their family, to take care of their neighbors, and to work together as a community to keep each other safe. So that's the attitude
Absolutely.
that I think we bring to public safety, that it's all of those things. And that while it is a city responsibility, a governmental responsibility, it's also, gosh, it's a collective responsibility and an individual one. And I think that's the attitude that has helped make and keep La Cañada a very safe place.
One thing I would recommend, for the city to improve public safety, aside from cameras, like if people, I don't know if La Cañada has it, but I know that certain cities have like an app for people that live there in case they
Hmm.
have to report something or a
Yep.
child is missing or there's a fire. That's a good way to alert like your local police department and local fire department, because that's another way to keep the city connected with its people. Because I know that Beverly Hills has something similar. So
Yeah.
maybe that's something you guys could implement to the city of La Cañada.
Yeah, I'm really pleased to say we actually have a city app where you can do things like make reports about if you see a downed tree limb, that's not obstructing traffic. Obviously, if it is, that's a more immediate emergency if it's in the road. But even things like, hey, this water fountain's not working. This sign seems like it needs a little bit of help from Public Works. We have an app for that, as well as we are part of the Genesis Connect system. That system is the same one that drives the evacuation warning process and tells people about the different conditions of the different parts of the county, because the whole county is using the same system and the same mapping. We're a part of that. So we have our own, alert system where we can push out emergency alerts through text and phone. We're using the same county infrastructure for emergency evacuation warning and management. And we have that sort of non-emergency app. In addition to, we can always just call 911 when we really need to make sure that emergencies are reported. So we try and have, if you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So we make sure
Right.
that we've got a full toolkit. So no matter what that problem is, we're ready to address it.
Right. And the third question, you being as mayor, how would you say, you can find ways to promote, to improve the infrastructure of the city, services, and at the same time, housing. So you as mayor, like, what do you see that could improve in those areas?
Sure. Well, go back to the question of public safety, and yeah, people think first about crime when you think public safety, and as I say, we have the lowest serious crime rate that we've had in this city, excepting the pandemic, which are
Right.
kind of odd, statistically odd years, but our lowest crime rate in a decade or more. Um, from 2019 to 2025, we reduced our residential burglary rate over 24% by people taking really careful precaution and strong partnerships with the various organizations that have helped keep down and make sure that those robberies, or excuse me, those residential burglaries aren't happening. So I can, as I say, I can point to the statistics and tell you that the criminal component of this is something that we think about and take very seriously.
Mhm.
But that other thing we were talking about, emergency preparedness. We live, in a high fire area, with earthquake faults, and up here in the foothills where debris flow and flooding has taken place. And we live near one of the largest, most vibrant cities in the world in this metropolitan area. There's a lot of different things that are wonderful, but also each of these can bring about real hazards. And so making sure that we have specific thoughtful planning and preparation as a community, as well as action plans that we can put in place in case of a fire, in case of an earthquake, in case there's debris flow, or goodness forbid, even something that's person made, right, instead of a natural hazard. So we think about all of those things and we prepare for all of those things. We're regularly meeting. We just formed an emergency preparation coordinating committee, which has stakeholders from every major institution. And you think, like, sure, you've got your fire department and of course they're there, but we also have representatives from each of the schools, public and private. We've got representatives from each of the water companies in the area, or the waste haulers. Boy, they make a big difference. When you're cleaning up after a big windstorm, the waste haulers make a huge difference. So that coordination and preparation is key. I'll also say you pointed to infrastructure.
Mhm.
When I think of public safety, my head often first goes to traffic,
Mhm.
because that is a place where people can really get hurt. And unfortunately, in the past we have seen some serious injuries or worse. Um, and so being thoughtful about that and making sure that we have just the three E's. And so for traffic safety, that is engineering, that we are putting lights, the best kind, with the right syncing, the right technology in the right places. It means that we're designing our roads, our intersections, our sidewalks, our bike lanes to be, 2026 quality, and to the highest scientific standard of what can be done to keep people safe when they are using the road and the spaces around the road, no matter what they're doing, walking, running, biking,
Mhm.
heck, even rollerblading's making a comeback, right?
Mhm.
So I want to make sure people are safe there, but we also need to make sure we're educating people, which is the second E.
Mhm.
People need to know that you run against traffic, but you ride your bike with it. We need to make sure people know what the difference in 5 miles an hour on a certain road could mean for you in wet conditions, and educate drivers above and
Mhm.
beyond what they may have gotten when they were 16 and got their permit and their license. And finally, it's about enforcement. We are all, I think, busy people. I'm sure you're obviously a busy person too,
Oh yeah.
but but occasionally people, you may be not paying enough attention, and you go a little faster than you meant to. Well, periodic enforcement is a good way to help keep people safe, and to make sure that we're not having the kinds of problems that I know are possible if you don't have a smart streets infrastructure. And so doing the three E's well is a big component of traffic safety, but it's also part of our infrastructure. I've in my experience as a prosecutor, I've obviously seen and dealt with some serious criminal stuff.
Mhm.
But when I think safety, I'm mostly to be honest, mostly these days I'm thinking about that emergency preparation and I'm thinking about traffic safety because we are a safe community, but there's always more work we can do in each of these areas to make sure that not only are we preventing, but sometimes you can't prevent. You know, I can't control the next earthquake, but I sure as heck can control how well prepared the city staff and the government are ready to respond to that emergency and how much we have enabled the community to take a part in its own preparation and protection in the event of an emergency.
Mhm. Oh yeah, absolutely. And someone like myself who's a skater and also getting back to La Cañada, I also go use my scooter around the park. So that's
Hmm.
also something that I do. I always make sure that there's, traffic that's not going my way. But also another thing I was going to mention, I know that there's different areas of La Cañada,
Hmm.
particularly that's going towards the JPL place.
Hmm.
Sometimes at night that gets very dark. So another way that could improve safety, like there could be like more lampposts when people are going by the curve. That could also, prevent people from getting into accidents, especially when it's, too dark.
Yeah, we do maintain, we have lights. I will say that it's a little bit complicated because some of the lights and some of the streets are owned by the state. Some are maybe more county oriented. Some of them are city. So there's a little bit of a mix of jurisdictions and folks involved in making sure that those areas are well maintained and appropriate. I'll say the other thing that we're thoughtful about and that I'm seeing come online more is the hue and brightness of the lights, not just where there are lights, but what color, if you will, are they? Are they more blue? Are they more orange? How bright are they? Or how directionally oriented are they? And that makes a difference for safety, but even for things you don't think about, like the night sky. If you're inappropriately casting light, you not only are not keeping people as safe as possible on the road, but you're blinding out the ability to see the stars. And gosh, one of the benefits of living in a place like the Los Angeles metro area is when you
Mhm.
want some of the best food or the best entertainment or the most interesting scientific research on Earth. Heck, we've got it here, right? And you mentioned JPL. One of the things we're world renowned for is our NASA facility, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory here in the city.
Mhm.
Um, but it's the ability to get into the wilderness. I'm not far
Mhm.
from a forest. I am not far. I'm never too far from a trail because we've got 13 miles of trails connecting our entire city together. And I'm never too far from the stars. But I can still do that in a way that keeps everybody safe with the right lights. So I think that's a great example of infrastructure balancing and figuring out a way to take care of people, and that there's more than one way to take care of people. And quite frankly, there's more than one need. It's not just about um, does this light brighten the way for your vehicle? It's about does it make it safe for the pedestrians using the space? Does it make it safe as well as enjoyable when I wanna look up and see the stars?
Absolutely. And I feel that as long as La Cañada Flintridge has the right leadership, La Cañada can move forward into the future. Well, anyway, I want to tell you, Kim, we come to the end of our time. I wanted to tell you thank you again for being on the show. And for all of our listeners, Spanish United is on all social media platforms. We are on Spanish United Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, now known as X. We're also on YouTube. We are a nonprofit organization. Anyone that wants to make a donation, you could send it out. And anyone that wants to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me through direct message. So as soon as I'm done, I will send you the link and you'll share with all of your colleagues. And again, thank you so much for being on the show, Mayor.
Hey, Enrique, thank you so much for having me, and we look forward to having you here. Walking, busing, biking, skating. We look forward to seeing you next time you're in town.
Thank you so much, Kip. Have yourself a wonderful evening.
You too, thank you. Bye now.
Bye bye.